The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar. We'll just wait for a couple of more minutes to see if there are other people who might be joining us, and then we'll get the webinar started. All right, thank you so much for attending the webinar today. My name is Sarvesh. I am your host for today, and we will be talking about why automation in Zoho Campaigns is more than what meets the eye. Before we get the webinar started, I would welcome any personal feedback about the webinar. Just let me know if it is productive and informative, and anything, any positive feedback, negative feedback is welcome. This will make sure that our future webinars are much better, and so please keep them coming. You can send me an email. My email address is sarvesh.ck@zohocorp.com. So today we will be talking about um, why you should automate. Of course, we will be talking a lot about automation. We will talk about why do we need automation, what is the relevance for today. Then we'll start. Then we'll talk about how to automate. Where do we start this whole process? How do we initiate ourselves into automation? And to what extent do we do it? What do we do? How much can we automate? How far can we go with automation? And finally, we'll talk a lot about Zoho Campaigns and all the tools that we have within Zoho Campaigns that help you automate. So first of all, let's talk about the relevance of automation itself. Um, and here we will start with the very basics of marketing. Marketing by itself is essentially just finding people who are trying to find you. As simple as that. You are providing either goods or services to other people. And so you need to find others who are interested in what you have to offer. So the best way to do that is, first of all, make sure you only come across um, or make sure you only find people who are genuinely interested in your service, and that happens when you allow your subscribers to reach you instead of you trying to gather as many subscribers as possible. It is not important to have a big mailing list. It is important to have a mailing list where everyone is genuinely interested in being part of your email campaigns. And that being said, the next subsequent step is personalization, where because people are reaching out to you, you need to cater to their needs very specifically. So every email you send has to have a specific context and needs to have a lot of relevance in terms of its content. So when you send people emails, it's not enough if you use personalization to just refer to them by their first name on the subject line. It's also important that you try to use as much information as you have about them and let that reflect in the way um, you structure your emails or even the very campaigns that you send to them. That leads us to drip marketing, where there is a series of emails that you allow to drip one at a time to your subscribers. Now, these emails, once again, as I said, need to have specific relevance and context, and they need to very essentially address what your subscribers expect. And finally, that brings us to automation, which is the best thing to have happened to drip marketing. So instead of manually sending out every email to every customer, you can automate the entire process and make sure that you send, some quality content that speaks to your subscribers the way they expect you to address them, um, with content that they constantly look out for, and you can automate all of that, and based on what kind of a subscriber you have, you can send them specific campaigns that they will appreciate. So which is kind of why automation is like one of the best things to have happened in the world of drip marketing, because instead of manually doing all the repetitive tasks, for instance, if you have to classify your subscriber base or send them a particular campaign every time someone joins your mailing list, you need not do that manually. It becomes very repetitive. And so once you automate all of that, once you have set up your automation, all of that work of segmentation or categorizing your subscriber base basically, or sending them a series of emails that are very apt to your subscribers, everything happens by itself. So your efficiency goes up drastically, because instead of spending time trying to send that one email, you can actually focus on more of your marketing activities. You can spend less time on thinking about how to send a particular campaign and how often you need to send it, and you can focus more on what you're actually sending to them. So the quality of your content goes up drastically, the time it takes comes down, and all in all, like I said, it's the most optimum thing to happen to drip marketing. So there is a very fine line between personalization and automation. The reason being, if you have a lot of data, you can use your automation to very specifically segment your subscriber base according to that data. So you need a lot of information, and you need to also make sure it's not intrusive. Of course, email marketing by itself is one of the safest ways of marketing because it's the least intrusive, in my opinion. But like I said, get as much data as you need and use it to segment your subscribers and then send them particular emails. And you can automate that segmentation, you can automate that sending of particular campaigns itself. So there is a very, very fine line, and I believe automation works best when used for personalization and used from personalization as well. So first you need to decide what data you need, because essentially you need some information to start personalizing your email campaigns. So I believe there are three levels of data that you can acquire about or from your subscribers. The first one is the basic information, which is the first name, last name, email address, maybe the organization's name or industry or job title and so on. And all of this you can acquire through either a sign up form that you have on your website, or if you ask them to fill out a form at a trade show or an event that you're organizing, then you will be able to get all of this basic information directly from your subscriber. Post that, you need to look at behavioral data that you can collect from your end. You need to see uh, if a particular subscriber is making his presence or her presence felt in the forums. If they've sent emails back to you, you need to see how they're engaging with the campaigns that you're sending to them. Are they opening your emails? Are they clicking your emails? Do they spend a lot of time on your website? All of that is behavioral information, and this can be acquired from your end. Finally, the third stage is when you laterally collect information, or you look at historical data. So, for instance, you can see how often they've sent an email to your support team, perhaps, or you can look at, you know, what are the issues that they're discussing in your community, or if you have a lot of services that you offer. So, for instance, in terms of Zoho, let us say I have a subscriber who joins my mailing list, and I know that they're part of campaigns, but I can do a little more research and find out if they're using any other Zoho products. For instance, are they part of Zoho CRM as well? All of this information cannot be acquired directly, or maybe it becomes a little too tedious if you try to acquire it directly. But this, you can seek out this data from your end. You can find out all of this and have a storage for it. And of course, every information that you receive from a particular subscriber has to have the intention of being used for the sake of personalization. So, of course, as much data as you need is a good thing. No information is bad information. But having said that, you need to know if it is useful information to you. You need to find out where you can use this to personalize within your campaigns account or within your email marketing process. Also, it needs to be as non-intrusive as possible, which is one thing that is going within the world of email marketing. If you've noticed, there is a new GDPR compliance that is coming up that tells you that you cannot be intrusive at all. Any information that you receive has to come from the subscriber one way or another. So gather as much information as you can in this manner, and then use all of it to personalize. And by personalizing, I don't just mean customizing your emails so that it is your subscriber seems to like it because the email is based on their preference. I don't mean it that way. I also mean segmenting your subscribers based on the data that they have given you. So that is a good way to go about it. And once you've received all of this information, you need to make sure that one, all this information is correct information, verified information. It's always good to have a little bit of specific information as opposed to a lot of vague information. So, for instance, when you ask them about their industry, some people, if you give them a text box, they'll give you, some people give you email marketing, some people give you just marketing, and so on and so forth. So, instead of giving them that choice, you can decide it to be like only a set of options that they can pick from. So, that improves the specificity of the data that you're collecting. Also, make sure, like I said, that it is a verifiable form of information. That will help personalize much better than before. Um, Another thing that you need to make sure once you've gathered information about your subscribers is you need to eliminate all forms of duplication, um, like entirely. And by duplication, I don't just mean any subscriber appearing twice or thrice in a particular mailing list. although that is the most fundamental way of identifying duplication. I also mean look at duplication, look at repetition in terms of data, look at redundance in terms of the information that you're acquiring. So, for instance, if a particular person has filled out a sign up form on my page and I have noted down the fact that this person came in through sign up form, and then because they're part of my mailing list, I send them an invitation to a trade show where they come in and they again, fill up a form there. That is redundance as well. That is another form of duplication because I can never track how I sourced a particular person into my mailing list. I can never track it back to how they first became a part of my email campaigns. So make sure you remove all forms of redundance and make sure your data is as specific as possible. So it needs to be very sophisticated. And finally, that brings us to keeping an up-to-date information. All your records and all your logs need to be as up-to-date as possible. Take the most recent instance of pretty much anything you can. Any data that you're acquiring, just make sure it is as recent as possible. And now you've acquired all of this information, you can use it in terms of how you address your subscribers or how you manage your subscribers within your account as well. So that brings us to the most efficient way to use automation in Zoho campaigns. And like I said, first you need to segment and categorize all of your subscribers in a particular manner so that sending them a campaign becomes a lot easier. And this is why we need workflows. So let us say a particular person has raised a support ticket 5 times. Now I have a record of it in my campaigns account where I have created a custom field that talks about how often a particular person has spoken to my support team. Now I need to send them better emails based on that. So now that a person is addressing my support section of the team so frequently, I know that this customer or this subscriber is extremely important to me, and so I'll put them on a higher priority. Or let us say someone who's part of CRM and part of campaigns. I can assign a particular label to them using workflows. And using that particular label, I can send them emails that talk about, I have dynamic content in my emails now, which is a pretty powerful tool when it comes to personalization. So let us say all of my campaigns emails have a little bit of a introduction to CRM, but because I have my subscribers sorted out, I can decide not to show them this particular text box because they're already using CRM. So those of you who are using the other product don't see that information, but those of you who aren't will, come across that piece of content within the email. And taking the example of campaigns itself, we had a different UI before this, and this is our newer version of the UI. So, in case I had to talk to people, first I will use that personalization to segment them appropriately. People who have used the previous product and are currently using this one, and then people who have never used the previous product, and people who've gone back to using the previous product from the new one, and so on and so forth. And based on that, I can send them separate emails. If someone has moved back to the old product, I can talk to them about why that happened or what issues they had with the new product. And if someone has moved to the new one and decided to stay, I can ask them about how their experience has been all this while, and so on and so forth. So now categorizing them into these separate mailing lists is one part of automation, and that is what workflows will take care of. The second part is autoresponders, which help in sending that particular campaign to a particular person. So we'll take a look at all the autoresponders or workflows we have within campaigns. I hope the screen is clear. So first of all, here's an important piece of information that you might need when you're trying to set up your workflow. You can create as many custom fields as you need for a particular mailing list. But like I said, you can acquire basic information from sign up forms, which you will find in the subscribers tab right here, of course. But apart from that, if you click all subscribers, and if I go to a particular subscriber, and let's say I go to a more expansive view for the subscriber, I can actually view um, their timeline, what campaign was sent to them, how did I manage that particular subscriber all this while, and so on and so forth. So based on that, I can decide what next I should be sending to them. So this is one way of collecting information from your end instead of directly approaching your subscriber and asking them to fill out a form. Another thing that you can use is, when you're sending out a lot of campaigns to your mailing lists, you can view your reports based on your list, based on the subscribers. How many of them have opened an email campaign, how many have not opened, never opened an email campaign, and some who have never opened the campaign recently, and so on and so forth. So this is another piece of information, like I said, that you can use from your side of the product, and you can use it to enhance your personalization and automation process. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is the option to score your subscribers and gauge their engagement rate. Like I said, behavioral data that you can acquire from your end. Let's say I go to subscribers and click subscriber scoring right here. Then I can assign specific scores based on the activity that they perform and based on how they're engaging with my email campaigns. So for a particular open or for opening the email multiple times and so on and so forth. And based on how well they are responding to my emails, I can send them future campaigns. So this is one way of acquiring information, and you can use it to personalize things within your campaigns account when you're creating a mailing list. Finally, let's take a look at all the automation tools that we have and how best to use them to their full potential. First of all, like I said, the workflow will help you segment and make your mailing lists a lot more sophisticated. And you can do that based on all the data that you have currently. So if you can set up an instant workflow that constantly processes any data that you add to a particular mailing list. So every time you use a sign up form and a subscriber joins your mailing list, automatically they will be categorized according to their behavior or the information that they've provided. And it's like I said before, it is very important to have a, a comprehensive idea and, and a very insightful amount of very specific information that you're receiving from your subscribers. That helps you sort them a lot easily and a lot more efficiently. Apart from that, we also have activity-based workflow, as you've seen previously. This can be used in tandem with the subscriber scoring that we have. So every time a person opens a particular email or clicks on a particular link within an email, apart from just scoring them and sorting them into a particular mailing list, you can just do it straight away from here and personalize your campaigns around them that way. A lot of people tend to use autoresponders at the most fundamental level. So let's say I create autoresponder. I see 7 kinds of autoresponders here, of course. Um, and a lot of people tend to use it at a very, very fundamental level. Ideally, when I say sign up based autoresponder, I need to send them emails as soon as they join my mailing list. But apart from that, uh, when I'm sending them that particular email, I can personalize based on the information that I already have. So let us say, apart from the first name that I will anyway use in my email, I can talk about, you know, I can use data that they've given me about their organization or about what time they joined or, location that they're joining from and so on if I'm using my sign up form. Again, one of the most fundamental examples of using a date field based autoresponders is people saying that, hey, you can use it for wishing. If you acquire the date of birth of your subscriber, then you can wish them an anniversary on that particular date. But I think date field based autoresponders go beyond that. So, for instance, if you have a custom field for a date and you store information about what particular date they joined your mailing list on, then you can use that information to further your emails. Let's say a year later, you can send them an email that says, you've been part of us for a year, and this is how we have grown in this year, and this is how you have helped us. And send them a comprehensive report of what they have done, or if what the purchases that they've made, or how well they have engaged with you, and the extent to which they've used your products or services, and so on. So you can send them a report about that. And again, when people say closed group autoresponder, the most common example that I encounter is sending out an event invite, where let's say I send everybody on my mailing list an invitation, and whoever responds to my invitation, they get added to a closed group. And to that particular group, I send more information about the event itself. Instead of sending it to all my subscribers, I can tell them the agenda, the schedule, and so on. But once again, like I said, the example that I gave previously about campaigns when people are using the old UI and the new UI. Let's say essentially we phase out the older version of the product, then people will not be able to access that anyway. And so I can create a closed group of all the people who used that version of the product and talk to them about how it has radically improved in terms of its looks and its features and how we've grown. And I can ask them about their inputs, what they like about the new product, um, compared to the old one, and so on and so forth. Going back to date field based autoresponder, even when I'm talking about a birthday wish or or an anniversary wish, uh, you can use that in tandem with other personalization tools. For instance, let's say I use dynamic content there as well. So I can decide to add a particular attachment as opposed to just sending an email that says happy birthday. I can add a particular attachment that is visible only on that particular date to that particular subscriber. And it has like I can carry on sending my normal email campaigns, but in case if it's my subscribers, if the date matches the date of birth of my subscriber, I can send them a card or something attached to that particular campaign as well. So that is a good way of using date field based autoresponder. Once again, like I said, all these things come together. For instance, let's say a particular person opens my email but doesn't click on a particular link that I have within the email, another person clicks the link as well. So here I'm doing a lot of things at the same time. One, I can send them a follow-up campaign based on their behavior using the email action autoresponder. Two, I can score them based on their activity. And three, I can categorize them using a workflow. So when I put together all of this, not only do I have more information about how my subscribers are engaging with me, I'm also further, sort of putting them into different sections that I can address separately and more effectively. And when we talk about smart series autoresponders, uh, once again we go back to just storing as much data as possible, because it always helps to have a record of first of all, it always helps to have a record about all of your subscribers, but it also helps to have a log that tells you um, what campaigns you've sent, what you've sent within the campaign, and so on. So when I'm sending a smart series based autoresponder, instead of just scheduling a series where people can catch up later, if I can maintain an archive or a storage of sorts of everything that I've sent previously, people can always come back and catch up. So again, uh, The most fundamental usage of smart series autoresponders happens when you're sending them, let's say, a newsletter every month. And if someone decides to join in the middle of the year, they will receive newsletters starting from the middle of the year. But instead, let's say you're sending them uh, a series of videos or tutorials through emails, where you're sending them a particular link to your videos through email. If you can maintain an archive of all of those videos hosted at the same place, then and an archive of all the emails that you've sent previously, then you can include those links in the future emails. So if someone is receiving 10 of those videos and someone joins in only after the fifth, they can still go back and catch up on what they have missed out on. And that is, I think, a lot more efficient. So now you have a record of at what point they joined. And then again, uh, let's say two people join after five videos and one of them catches up and views all of the previous uh, tutorials that I've sent through emails. Now I have a better idea of who's engaging better with me, which of the subscribers should I prioritize. And so once you have set all of that up using just autoresponders or and workflows, it helps to um, you know send them tailor-made content based on all the information that you have acquired just through how they have responded to your campaigns. Or the start point is always the basic information. It's always just the first name and contact information and so on. But beyond that, it comes down to how much you can extract out of their usage of your website or your product or your services. So once you've set all of that up, you can make a much better use of the automation that we have within campaigns. So that happens with email action or smart series or any of these, for instance. So essentially, I guess the point is to not just minimize effort by automating all the repetitive tasks, but you need to go a step beyond just using automation to, you know, bring down uh, manual effort. You can use it to automatically sort your subscribers into uh, any way that you deem is efficient. And once you've done that, you can also automate the next email that the person sends. So what that does is it takes care of almost 70-75% of your email marketing activity, where your only job is to make sure the content is pitch perfect and the way you acquire subscribers increases. So you're reaching out to a lot more people. Just try to keep bringing them into your campaigns account and try to create more content and more good content within your emails, and everything else takes care of itself. As soon as they join, they're automatically categorized based on what information they provide to you and what information you find out by sending them a few campaigns and how they're engaging. And you can, once you've set up a few campaigns, the first few campaigns will sent by themselves based on all the information that you have gathered so far. And this repository of sorts keep building upon itself after a stage. So first I send them a campaign and I gauge their response, and based on the response I send them another campaign, and then that reflects again upon my subscriber score or their behavior and so on. So it starts back and forthing. So for every email campaign, I can receive a particular subscriber score, and for every subscriber score, I can set up another email campaign. So after a stage, I guess it just keeps growing upon itself and building upon itself. So essentially, that would be an extremely good way to use the autoresponders and workflows. So try to use it with the sign up forms. Try to control the behavior of the sign up forms themselves. You can, in fact, within sign up forms, you can customize what information you want and how, what is the course of activity after someone has submitted data through the sign up forms. So you can send them an email that asks them to confirm their subscription, and you can send them another email that tells them if they are, subscribers who have had previously unsubscribed but now are trying to join your mailing list again. You can send them another email for that. You can direct them to specific web pages, and based on the activity on that web page, I can again gauge their interest. So I suppose the idea is to set up a system that can sustain itself as long as the subscriber is part of your mailing list. And that is one of the most efficient ways to use the entire automation tool within Zoho Campaigns. So I guess that is pretty much what we have time for today. If you have any questions, you can always send us an email to support@zohocampaigns.com. Thank you so much once again for attending the webinar.